Hello, and welcome back to another pen and ink practice exercise video. Today, we will be looking into the first lines with different nib pressure to allow for variation of thickness. So let's start with exercise E on the pre-drawn 3x3 cm grid as shown in the previous video. This exercise consists of a series of horizontal lines in which the line is pulled. It starts with a bit of pressure to spread the nib ends wider, becoming looser in pressure as you go to make the line thinner. This is an exercise to help you understand how to make that happen. It's harder than it looks. Not only you have to control your pressure in an even way, but at the same time, maintain the spacing of the lines, like in the previous exercises. Exercise F is the very same as E, but switching the pressure from thin to thick. Exercise G is the same as E, but with diagonal lines. When doing diagonals, I personally disregard the separation of squares and use the grid more as a line. You can also try to taper the ends by making the lines smaller. It makes for a fun effect. You can leave spaces and try to fill it in with lines. The sky is really the limit. H is the opposite of G in pressure. Learning to control pressure back and forth is really important because it is a bit of a mental exercise of paying attention when to add pressure, when to loosen the grip. I is a pull exercise vertically, from thick to thin. Not only you're practicing your vertical lines, but the pressure control. J is the opposite of I, from light to thick. This exercise doesn't actually exist in the book, but I found it useful to do vertical thin to thin lines before going to the diagonals later. You start light, add pressure, and slowly remove it. K applies the same idea of even thin to thin but slantwise. The challenge is keeping it all even in length. L is the same as K, but to the opposite side. Sometimes, some angles are easier than others. In this case, to keep the thickness variation, this is really hard for me to pull on the right side. So tilting the sketchbook was at hand. Just notice that it might be a bit harder to gauge the even distance between lines when you do that. That's why it's usually not recommended. On M, you apply the same thin to thin pattern of pressure to your horizontal lines. Mine are very uneven, so again, try to keep track of which exercises you need to do more than others. The more you practice, the more even and graceful your lines will be. And that's it for this week. It looks easy, but it's harder than it looks. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please remember to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel to never miss any of the future ones. Next week, we start looking at irregular and curved lines. See you soon!